AI, machine learning, deep learning. You hear these terms thrown around all the time, right? In the news, on social media, in ads for your new phone. But here's the thing. Most of the time, they're not quite being used correctly. So today, we are going to untangle these buzzwords once and for all. So let's just get right to it. I'm sure you've thought, okay, AI, machine learning. Aren't they all just different ways of saying the same thing? Smart computers. And that is a totally fair question because it is, without a doubt, the biggest point of confusion out there.
And the short answer is a hard no. They're definitely not the same thing. Think of them more like layers. They actually build on top of each other, where each new level gets more and more specialized. Okay, so to make this whole thing click, I want you to picture a set of those Russian nesting dolls. You know the ones. Artificial intelligence, or AI, that's the biggest outermost doll. It's the whole field, the whole idea. Now, if you pop that open, inside you find the next doll, machine learning, or ML. And then you open that one, and you get to the smallest, most powerful little doll inside, deep learning, or DL. So let's start with that biggest doll, the one that holds everything else. We're talking about the massive, all-encompassing world of artificial intelligence. Right, so this is the original kinda sci-fi dream that kicked everything off. AI isn't just about crunching numbers faster. It's this huge, ambitious goal of creating machines that can genuinely think. Things that can reason and plan and understand language just like we do. The main thing to get about AI is that it's this giant umbrella. It covers everything. And here's what's really important. There have always been two ways to try and build it. You could try to write a million simple rules. If a user says hello, then the computer should respond with hi. That's a rule-based system. Or you could build a system that learns how to respond all by itself. And that second path, well, that's our doorway right into machine learning. And honestly, you've probably already interacted with AI today. Ever talked to a customer service chatbot? Or had your bank text you about a strange-looking transaction? Yep, that's AI in action. It's that huge, broad concept of intelligence being applied to a very specific job. Okay, so if AI is the big dream, how do we actually make it happen? Well, let's open up that first nesting doll and take a look at one of the most powerful ways to build AI, machine learning. Now, this right here is the game changer. Listen to that key phrase, without being explicitly programmed. This was a huge shift in how we think about computers. Instead of a programmer trying to write code for every single possibility, they kind of become a teacher. They just feed an algorithm tons and tons of data and let it figure out the patterns for itself. It's literally learning from experience.
It's kind of like teaching a little kid what a cat is. You don't sit down and write a list of rules for catness. You just point to a bunch of cats and say, cat, and eventually their brain just gets it. A lot of machine learning works just like that. It needs a person to give it that first lesson, to label the data and say, yep, this is a picture of a cat, and nope, this one isn't, so it can learn the difference.
And you see the results of this constantly. You know that people who bought this also bought feature on Amazon? That's machine learning. The spam filter that keeps your inbox clean? That's a machine that's learned what spam looks like by seeing millions of examples. It's everywhere. All right, it's time to open up that second doll. We're getting to the very center now, the most complex and honestly the most powerful tool we have in this whole set, deep learning. So this is where things get really cool, because this is where computer science starts taking its cues directly from the human brain. Deep learning uses something called artificial neural networks, which are basically complex systems designed to copy how the neurons in our own brains are layered. And all those many, many layers, that's what makes it deep, they allow it to find incredibly subtle and complex patterns in raw data.
So what this means is, unlike regular machine learning, you don't have to teach a deep learning model quite as much. You can just throw a million unlabeled photos at it, and it will start to teach itself what's important, the edges, the shapes, the textures. But there's no such thing as a free lunch. To do this, it needs two things: an absolutely mind-boggling amount of data and a ton of computing power. That's why you always hear about GPUs or graphics cards being so important. They just happen to be really, really good at doing the kind of math these neural networks need, and doing it all at once.
And the results are pretty amazing. This is the stuff that really feels like it's from the future. A self-driving car that can see and identify a person on the sidewalk, your phone unlocking just by looking at your face, your smart speaker understanding exactly what you're asking for. All of that is the magic of deep neural networks at work.
Okay, so we've taken all the nesting dolls apart. Now let's line them up on the table, side by side, so we can make the differences totally clear.
Let's just walk through this, because it really tells the whole story. As you go from left to right, from AI to ML to DL, notice how learning becomes more and more essential. A basic AI might not learn at all, but ML and DL are completely dependent on it. And look at the data. ML likes it when we organize things first, but DL can handle the messy, unstructured stuff from the real world. The patch? To get that power, the complexity and the need for computing horsepower just go through the roof. That's the big trade-off.
So, who cares, right? Why does it matter if someone calls something AI when they really mean DL? Well, understanding the difference actually helps you cut through all the marketing hype and see what these technologies can really do, and maybe, more importantly, what they need to work in the first place. So let's put our nesting dolls back together one last time. AI is the big, beautiful outermost doll. It's the whole dream of intelligent machines. Machine learning is inside that. It's one of our best methods right now for making that dream a reality. And then, deep inside, you have deep learning, the super specialized, brain-inspired tool that can do incredible things, but only if you can feed its massive appetite for data.
And really, if you forget everything else, just remember this. It's summed up perfectly right here. AI is the broadest field, ML is a subset of AI, and DL is a further subset of ML. It's that simple nesting structure we started with.
So there you have it. The buzzwords are officially untangled. But I want to leave you with one final thought. We know that the incredible power of deep learning comes from its insatiable hunger for data. But data isn't infinite. What happens to progress when our most powerful AIs have read the entire internet, seen every video, heard every song? What comes next?